living room. I'm digging this. Oh, look, 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 look. Look at the Frenchie. What's up, buddy? You may be more valuable than a fish tank, but we won't say anything about that. I digress. Nice sitting area right by the couch, maybe for two. Here we go. Ooh. LPS and SPS heaven. Look at, wow. Yeah, that's like Lobo, some Bower Bankies, some acans, yeah, torches, hammers. I'm digging this. Okay, so first thing that's jumping out at me on this. Looks like all these colonies are elevated off the sand bed. It's like they're all on their own little perch. Which, okay, so I see two sides of this. Number one, if you have a fish that's a sand-sifting fish, like those sleeperhead gobies, golden-head sleeper gobies, maybe they'll be less prone to burying these colonies because they're not sitting on the sand bed. Makes for a little different presentation than I'm used to. Again, not that it's bad, just something a little different. By having them all perched off the sand bed, kind of feel like I'm in a local fish store. But I mean, it's a nice way to present them, like, hey, here it is. Nice red Gonny. I'm digging that, maybe an acan back there in the back, or a Blasto. Ooh, Scoly Garden. Here we go. Here's something that I'm starting to see more of in the hobby that's like, wow, that's nice. And this is a nice one as well. So, let me stop on that. This Scoly here, a couple things that I like about it. Number one, it's a unique shape. It's almost like a Star Trek emblem of the crew shape. And it's got some green in there, it's got some purples, it's got some red. It's certainly a nice piece. Maybe a little, so you got some green around the rim, around the inner mouth. That's cool. So I'm not like, just you have bleeding apple and war paint. I like to see some oddballs. That's more of an oddball to me. We got some Zoas in here, my first love for coral. Nice Fungia plate. I'm curious how long he's had those. Those usually don't last for long, but maybe the owner can chime in and say, more acans and bowers here, all kinds of, wow. I mean, the colors on this, okay. So I like that pink in the back too, that's unique. First thing, know that you're looking at this tank under an orange filter. That's why everything looks super bright, which nothing wrong with that. I'm just letting you know to give you some context. If you're looking at this and like, I have that same piece, it doesn't look like that. That's why. Now, it's a nice thing to have. You look at an orange filter, we have them at saltwaterquarium.com, they clip onto your phone. It's a nice way to take really good looking photos of corals because you get the blues, you get that fluorescence out of them, but you don't have to deal with the nuclear blue that most phones can't handle. So that's why they look that way. I like these pieces though. We've got a good mix. We've got LPS that have lots of motions with tentacles. We've got LPS that sit on the sand bed. We've got that Scoly Garden. I like the grouping of the Scolies. They're not going to hurt each other. And now we're deep into SPS territory. So this aquascape is done in such a way that there's lots of little perches again for the coral, much like the LPS that were down on the sand bed or perched off the sand bed. Yes, the SPS is perched all in the same way. So I'll get back to that in just a minute. Okay, so I gotta say this. We've got all this nice SPS, and then we've got this digitata over there on the left. Some people like digis. The forest fire is a nice one. I found they tend to get weedy. Most people have them, and then they take them out. Now, how this tank is aquascaped with all the little perches and plugs for these things, that could be an easy thing to do. If this was my tank where I put coral directly on the rock, I would be taking that out. But again, that's just my flavor. That's my taste. Not a huge digi fan. So all these frags plugs, like kind of like here, 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 they're all spaced kind of somewhat evenly from one another. When these things all grow in, he's going to have a wall of SPS, and that might be the idea. For the moment, to me, it looks just a little strange. Like everything is kind of like at its own tier. It tiers up towards the back. This looks like something I would walk into a local fish store and be like, okay, there's this colony for this much. It's easy to pick out. Again, some people say I'm getting overly critical. This is just how this is striking me. That doesn't mean it's bad or it's good or it's right or wrong. This is just my reaction to what I'm seeing. So a little different than what I'm used to seeing. I personally like more of the rock aquascape, and you put corals kind of some on the back, some over here. Maybe there's a gap between rocks where you can just see rocks. So just a little different thing, but this is a nice way for this person to kind of present each colony, remove or trim each colony, over time. So we've got some AI Neros here providing flow. I'm actually just now noticing the fish because I've been staring at the corals. All right, looks like we got a little mangrove garden here on the floor. That's unique. We got tons of auto top. Okay, so this is jumping out at me. Check this out. So he's got his osmolator right on the back of the tank, which, two things about that. One, in terms of placement, I would personally put it under the tank to keep it away from any splashing. This is a rimless tank, so it's easy to splash water on it. But what I'm noticing more about this is that he put like some of that cord hide down to the auto top-off container, which is nice. It makes for a nice, clean presentation. It's hiding those cords. It blends in. All right, so we have some Kessels, some A360Xs with a little LED strip right next to it. So he's got these guys, the Kessels, on the gooseneck, which is a nice way to mount them on a rimless tank. And then it looks like he built a little, like, I don't want to say container, like a housing over the lights, so just to polish them up. That way you don't see all these cords, all these mounts. So which is a nice complement onto the rimless tank, because you don't really see them. You just see the tank. You don't get taken out by the cords or the mounts. That's pretty slick. Nice work there, nice touch, especially with the effort you've gone through on this rimless tank. I'm really curious on what this tank is going to look like in 2 years, year, 2 to maybe 3 years, and everything grows out. Is this guy going to trim it to keep it more bonsai-like, as he has it now, or is he going to let everything grow in with the idea of being one wall of SPS with all the types grown together there? Okay, so Kessel, if you're watching, you should throw this guy some swag because he's got the Kessel logo right there in front. You can't miss what this thing is lit with. For those of you wondering about Kessel lights, clearly they do a good job. This is a nice looking tank. We're gonna have a look underneath in just a minute to see what drives this thing. Here we go. So we have, again, Kessel. You're paying attention, he's got a Kessel sticker right there on the sump. Water coming down from the back. We've got a Nio skimmer there, nice choice for the skimmer. Loving the Hanna salinity checker. We've got a refugium here, providing some nutrient export, and he put a little bit of, looks like some kind of material there to block the light, try to keep it down in the refugium section. That will keep algae from growing in the return section. You're going to get still some light spillage underneath it inside the refugium itself, but that's a nice little touch, easy thing that he did to help to direct the light. We've got some UV in the back. Look nice aqua Euro UV. And look, everything underneath here is clean. Okay, so we used water bottles for this, maybe as 2-part, but it works. Like, he doesn't have tons of room, so he's using the water bottles because they work better than an ATO container, which he might not have room for. The other thing I'm noticing just now is it looks like he has some kind of tile or something else underneath the sump. Now, it looks like that may just be tile, which can help with spills, help contain them, keep them off the floor, keep them off the stand. Just a nice little way to deal with water. You're gonna have some water around your sump, especially an under tank sump like this. It happens, but that's a nice way that you don't spill it on the floor. It just sits on the tile. So we've got a Trident here, Neptune, Dose. We got some gyres on this thing. Nice tucked away cabinet. I'm digging the blue LED on this. You don't see accent lighting a lot with accessory cabinets like this. That's a nice touch given that it's underneath the tank and off to the side and maybe a little dark to see. I'm curious if these LEDs will switch over to a whiter setting. So if he's trying to look for something, it's easier to see when it's white than blue. But look, this is still a nice control panel, even though he didn't go overboard in terms of hiding cords. He drilled a hole for the tubes to go through, but he didn't put a grommet on it, which to me is like, it's okay. Like, sure, you could go the extra step if you wanted. If not, it still looks pretty clean. Everything's neat and tidy. If someone had to come in and find something on your system, they could do it. If you had to pull a cord because a module died or a probe died, it's pretty easy to do because it's not just a rat's nest of wires. He's got plenty of reagents, by the way, so he's ready to go. All right, I'm gonna go back to the top and have another look at this tank from afar. As I'm looking at this again, yes, he's got some SPS, but I'm really drawn to the LPS in the system. Lots of variety, lots of color. In time, the SPS will color up. A little hard to see the colors in the video. I'm sure they're pretty, but I'm really digging the Scoly garden. I'm digging all the different types of LPS and the colors as well. Nice setup. Yeah, I dig it.